Hello beautiful people, Stephanie here, and one thing I can tell you is this is going to be a really long video. Today I'm answering your questions as a tin whistle player with 10 years experience. That's right, I started tin whistle in 2016 at the age of 27. I'd never really played an instrument before. I dabbled a little bit in some. It's been 10 years in the making. My channel, my career, and my life as a musician. So I'm answering 40 of your questions, and I've tried my best to put them in categories. They are all listed in the description down below, so if there's anything in particular you're interested to watch, you can navigate those via the chapters. But otherwise, I'd say pause this video for a moment, grab yourself some drink and some snacks, because we're going to be here for a while. And let's get into your questions on tin whistle. So a few people asked the question, what made you start playing tin whistle? Basically, I'd seen the Harp twins on YouTube playing beautiful harp out and about in beautiful countryside, dressed in these beautiful clothes. And I thought to myself, I would like to learn to play harp. So I was talking about it with my husband and he said, well, what could I play? So he had much less music experience than me. He'd never played anything. I'd played a little bit of piano, some oboe very badly, a little bit of guitar, but never really could do anything in particular. I just messed around. And I Googled the easiest instrument to learn to play. And up comes tin whistle. Now, at the time, I'd never even really heard of it. I didn't know what a tin whistle was. I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know anything about Irish music or tin whistle's connection with it. I was completely oblivious. But it was advertised as the easiest instrument to play, so I ordered two. I ordered 2 Generation C whistles, one for me and one for my husband, and the plan was that we would learn to play together. And we learned one tune, and then I ordered my Clark high D whistle when I realized that everybody was playing D whistles, nobody was really playing C whistles. And basically I stuck with it. And he only ever learned that one tune. Now, somebody asked what has motivated me to keep going for so long. And in truth, it was actually starting a YouTube channel, because I've never stuck with any instrument that I've started until I found tin whistle. And it's not just because it's easier. It's not just because I was able to play things on it that I couldn't on other instruments as easily. But it was mostly because I gave myself a chore, a task. I gave myself something that I needed to be accountable for, and I started a tin whistle channel. And someone asked, would I ever have imagined my videos being this popular? No. I didn't know how many people in the world knew about tin whistle. I didn't know the massive followings there are in different genres of music or anything. Mostly it was a personal project. It kind of snowballed a little bit from there. People liked what I was playing and they asked me if I could create a tutorial, and they asked me if I had tabs, and I didn't know what tabs were. I didn't really know much about the instrument itself. But I think I'd been playing for about 6 months when I posted my first YouTube video. And as I said, it was just me playing, I think, the Godfather theme tune or something from The Hobbit. And yeah, people started asking for tutorials and asking for tabs, so I needed to look and find out what tabs were, and I needed to understand the instrument a bit more so I could provide a tutorial of some sort for people, because they kept asking. And I don't know why I felt the need to say, yes, I can help you with this, but even though I was just starting out, it was nice that people were asking me for help. So I tried my best to make some tutorials to understand more about the instrument, and it all kind of went from there. Now, somebody asked, is playing flute or whistle something that I feel I do for myself? And initially, yes, it was something that I wanted to start for my own enjoyment. It went through a stage where, and it's been that way for a long time, in all honesty, that I don't really play for myself anymore. So if I'm not recording a video, or I'm not working on a commission, or I'm not doing something for my students, I don't play tin whistle for my own enjoyment ever anymore, because I play it for work. It is work now, so it's not so much for my own enjoyment anymore. But I certainly started that way. It started as a hobby, and I do still enjoy playing. But yeah, it feels more like work now, so I try and keep it that way, and I try and do other things when I'm not recording. When did you feel you could actually play? Now, this is an interesting one because I'm actually going to say this year. And that sounds insane, but yeah, this year is the first year that I've kind of felt satisfied with the way I play, I suppose, but I felt more confident in being able to take on more challenging tunes. So previously, where somebody would suggest, let's play this together, or maybe we could play this one, or maybe you could cover this, I'd look at it and I think, wow, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to play that at full speed. There's no way I can do that ornamentation. I don't know how are they doing that at that pace? Whereas this year, for some reason, something seems to have clicked, and I can play fast, and I can put in the ornamentation, and I can add effects that sound really cool, and I can pick out those effects from music, and I know how to add them. So this year, my 10th, or the completion, I suppose, of my 10th year of tin whistle playing is the first time I feel I can actually play. It feels stupid to say, but it's the first time I feel that I'm actually okay at playing. Sometimes I can be a little bit good. But it's taken 10 years for me to feel confident to say that, yeah, I can actually play. How do you approach learning a new tune? Well, it's pretty simple for me. I listen to it once or twice before, and then I grab my set of whistles. Usually I've got a box set of Lear whistles, so everything from E flat to A, and then I've got a few others, so I usually pick up a G, F, an E sometimes, and basically I just make sure I've got a full selection of whistle keys. And then I just listen to it and I try and play back the notes. So I usually slow the tune down so I can hear the notes a little bit more clearly, and I try and play those back on my whistle. What often happens is, because I'm not working from sheet music and I don't really know the key signature of the music, I guess. So I start with a D whistle, or I listen to whether it feels happy or sad, and I think, oh, actually that could be maybe a B flat whistle. Or there's somebody singing in it and it's usually like a G whistle or a C whistle. So, I mean, from experience, and I've done this for 10 years, I get a rough idea of which whistle I need to start with when I'm working out a tune, but I just kind of go at it trial and error. And sometimes I'll be halfway through a tune and then I'll realize that it could be so much easier on a different whistle, and I'll switch key and I'll start again. So it's not the best approach, but in a way, by the time I've worked out the notes for the tune, and that is literally the only way I learn to play a tune, by the time I've worked out all the notes for that tune, I've already kind of done my practice for it. So once those notes are worked out, I can play it. So sometimes there are some extra things that I'll need to add, like ornamentation, or sometimes I'll need to practice it a few times through to get up to the right speed. But generally that's all I need to do. Work it out note by note, and then it's in there, and it's basically ready to go. Now, a lot of people asked, do I practice every day? Or how often do I practice? And if so, how much time do you practice? Well, in all honesty, I don't really practice. I've never been one to run drills of things, so I don't run. I'm lazy. I don't run drills. I don't do breath work. It's why it's taken me 10 years to be able to play at a reasonable level. Because I've always hated practicing. Unless I'm reasonably good at something right at the start, I hate it. So I don't tend to practice, and it's completely counterproductive, because if I had practiced a lot more, if I had done drills, if I had practiced regularly every day, I would be so much better by now. If I'd taken lessons, I would be so much better by now. But I've done it the way I've done it, and it's worked for me because it's the only instrument I've stuck with, so I'm happy with that. But yeah, I don't practice every day. Sometimes I go for weeks on end without playing a whistle. I practice, as I said, by working out the notes of the tune, and then I play it through a few times, and then I film it, and then I never play it ever again. Have you ever had to learn a tune you didn't actually like? Yes, on a weekly basis. All right, maybe not that often. Definitely on a monthly basis. There are so many tunes that I've played that I absolutely hate. Usually because they're difficult, sometimes because I don't like the melody, sometimes I think this is really boring, sometimes I think this sounds the same as everything else. Yeah, there's loads of tunes. You can usually tell if I am enjoying it because firstly, I'll be smiling. Secondly, I usually put a lot more effort into the whole production. And I'm a lot more lively. So yeah, if you see those things, you know I'm enjoying myself. Do you have a certain method, or you just choose a song and learn it? So at the start, I chose songs that I personally liked and knew well, and I always recommend this. Start with tunes, melodies, songs that you know, because they're already in your head. Since I started getting requests, I tend to do what I'm told, or do what I'm asked, or do what people pay me to do. So the way it works is that a lot of people request a song. If loads of people request the same song, that kind of goes further up my to-do list. Sometimes people commission a tutorial where they pay me to play a certain song, so I don't get to pick many songs myself anymore. Sometimes that's a little bit difficult, but obviously it's really nice to be able to play music that everybody watching and supporting my channel wants to play. So it's kind of rewarding either way, whether you choose yourself or whether you play something that you know loads of people are going to have a lot of fun learning. Somebody asks, what is your signature tune? I honestly don't have one. I don't think there's a single tune that I can play without some form of notation in front of me. I don't actually use tabs and I don't use sheet music. I use A, B, C notes just scribbled. So I don't need any timing information usually. I don't really use much ornamentation information. I tend to remember all that. But the one thing I can't remember is the actual notes. So I need the letters of the notes written out in front of me in order to play anything. I don't really have a signature tune or a favourite tune, but one I often go back to is Dunmore Lasses. I don't really know why. It's a fun one to play. Somebody asked, what is your favourite whistle? And what is your favourite tonal range of whistle? So I've had various favourite whistles throughout the course of my tin whistle playing years. I started off, obviously, loving the Clark whistles. Then I moved on to Dixon whistles. I switched up, I think, to Chris Wall whistles in the middle, and then moved on to Lear whistles, which is kind of where I've settled at the moment. I'm not actually the biggest fan of the Pro whistle. It doesn't quite have the sound that I prefer, especially because I play most of my music at home. I actually liked the sweet sound of the Lear silver-plated whistles. They're not really making very many of those at the moment because they're working on their new Lear Pro whistle. So I've kind of had to find replacements. Good replacements that I found are the compass whistles. They tend to be very similar in shape, style, design, and they're also offering silver-plated whistles now as well. Also the McNeela Wild whistles. They're kind of a mid-range whistle. They're not super professional whistles, they're not beginner's whistles, they're that mid-level whistle. And that's kind of what I need. I prefer whistles that have a mid to high back pressure as well. So I'm not looking for something that doesn't need any air and doesn't really produce any volume, but I do prefer not to have to put a load of breath through a whistle. So the Lear whistles and subsequently the compass whistles, the McNeela Wild whistles, the Killarney whistles, they all have that perfect amount of back pressure, sweetness, and dynamic range for me as well. As for pitch, I don't really have a preference, but I do tend to like an F whistle. There's something kind of nice about the F whistle. Again, it's a mid-range. It's kind of in between the low and the high whistles. But one of my favourite whistles does have to be my bass A whistle, which is from Carbony, just because it's so huge and it's got this really deep, rich tone to it. It's kind of incredible to play something so massive. Do you think the tin whistle should be introduced internationally, with one intention being telling its history? Well, actually, I think pretty much tin whistle is well known worldwide. There's a huge following in places like China. It's all over the US. It's here in Ireland and Wales and England and Scotland. It's really popular in Germany. People in Brazil play tin whistle. There are people in Africa who play Quaila music in South Africa, especially. Obviously, people in New Zealand play it because of Lord of the Rings. It's pretty much on every continent. So although not everybody knows the history of tin whistle, there are various histories based on different countries and different cultures and their approach to this instrument. So I'd say it's pretty well known internationally. What kind of whistle do you prefer when live playing with other instruments? Well, I've actually only live played with piano. I don't think I've ever live played with any other instruments. I don't really play music much outside of my own home. So although I play against pre-recorded instruments of my own, and backing tracks. I don't really usually play with live instruments, but in general I've found that other instruments are considerably louder than tin whistles, so generally you need a loud whistle. It doesn't really matter whether it's high or low back pressure, but what you need is one that can reach a good amount of volume. So if you are playing in a session or you're looking to play with other musicians, pick your loudest whistle and play it with full confidence. What are your favourite pieces that are hard to play because they have odd time signatures, complex harmony and composition, but not speed if there are any? I actually quite like playing jazz music because, I mean, I guess it's not really usually played on tin whistles, so there are some interesting techniques that you need to do with the whistle that make the piece really difficult to play well. I mean, anybody can play it, but playing it well is something completely different. Something where you're trying to make the tin whistle replicate a voice as much as possible and add all these interesting techniques to really make the song work. What are your favourite musical instruments to play on or with? So I'll go for playing with. I don't really like playing many other musical instruments because I'm not very good at it. But I quite like playing with certain sounds. So I think tin whistle sounds nice with harp. I think tin whistle sounds nice with guitar. And I think tin whistle sounds nice with piano. And although they're probably not particularly traditional things that tin whistle is played with, you probably wouldn't find those things in a session. I kind of like the sound of them, so they are usually some of my choices for backing music if I use any. Have you ever tried to make a tin whistle yourself? This one is a hard no. I don't have a workshop, I don't have tools, I don't have the patience to... No. I like to create things, I like to make a lot of things, but I don't feel that I could personally make a whistle that was better than somebody else has made, so I don't want to waste my time making myself a crap whistle when I could just buy a good whistle from somebody who's been doing it for a long time, who's got all the right materials, all the right knowledge. Yeah, no, that's not my area of expertise. I'll leave it to the pros. I tweaked my Clark original tin whistle. Did you also tweak yours? I did tweak one of my Clark original whistles because I read online that if you narrowed the windway by flattening it a little bit with a hammer, I honestly didn't find that it improved the whistle at all, so I haven't done it with any of the other Clark whistles. How's your hearing? I always try to wear some sort of earplug or earphones when I'm playing really high or loud music, just to try and protect my hearing. But as I said, I don't really practice all that much, so it's short bursts of loudness, and usually with earphones in anyway because I'm listening to a backing track, so yeah, it's fine. Why haven't you put your tunes in a book? Or will you publish them in some form of book so that we can buy them in a collection? Well, although that's a fantastic idea, a lot of the music I cover isn't actually in the public domain, so there are copyright issues amongst all of it. Making a book that's available to sell is a whole new copyright issue that I haven't yet addressed. So this is probably one of the last personal questions. How did you know you were competent enough to teach? And this is from one of my students. The truth is, I didn't. People asked me if I did lessons. People asked me if I did private tuition. Other musician friends of mine asked why I wasn't teaching. And I didn't teach for a long time, one-to-one, on a paid basis, because I didn't feel competent enough to teach. There are a lot of people in the tin whistle world that would still consider me not competent enough to teach. And it depends on your approach. It depends on how precious you are with traditional tin whistle styles, how much of a gatekeeper you are to the community. It's quite a difficult world in that respect. There's a lot of people that will try and shoot you down. So I think it took me a really long time to build up the courage and confidence to be able to teach. But then once you start, you realize that you've got knowledge that other people don't have yet, and you've got advice that you can give people. And when you start seeing students improve, the pride that you have in them is absolutely incredible. It's a really nice feeling. It's It's great to be able to help people in ways that I didn't have help with because I learned everything myself. And it's stupid. I never wanted a teacher, and I'm really glad I didn't have one because I wouldn't have stuck with it because I hate the pressure of having to practice and having to please and the expectation that I've done what I should have done. So it never really suited me, but it's really nice to be able to give that to somebody else and watch them grow. So it took a long time. I didn't really know I was competent enough, but I just took a shot and it kind of worked out. Now, if you're still here, I commend you. We are halfway through the questions. I'll keep going. I'll try and be a little bit more precise and concise with a few of these. What type of tunes do you enjoy playing the most? Jigs, reels, airs, waltzes, or non-trad? And has your affinity to a style changed over the years? Honestly, my affinity to a style hasn't changed. I prefer to play non-trad music for most of the time. As I said earlier on, I quite like playing jazz. I quite like playing blues. I love playing pop music and rock music and metal and reggae. Yeah, I prefer to play non-traditional stuff, but I do enjoy playing a lot of orchestral pieces as well. So maybe it's more mainstream and less folk, but it doesn't mean I don't enjoy playing a lot of the folk music. And actually, I've been introduced to so many incredible musicians, artists, bands, and genres of music that I didn't even know existed. So it's been an incredible journey, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Which song was the most fun to learn and record? In general, I actually enjoy the tunes where I can dress up, because you guys know I like a bit of cosplay. If there's a fun tune that gives me the opportunity to dress like an idiot, it's usually one I've really enjoyed, despite the actual melody itself, which is ridiculous, but there you go. If you could perform with anyone that also plays the tin whistle, who would it be and why? I mean, going through everybody in my head, I would probably say Brian Finnegan, because he still feels at a much higher level of tin whistle playing than me, and something like that still feels unachievable at the moment. So it would be nice to think that if I was at a level where I could perform alongside him, I'd be pretty good too. Who played at the last gig you went to? And what music do you like personally? Well, I feel I've covered this a lot, but I don't actually get out to many gigs. If I'm being honest, the last one that I kind of chose to go to was Tenacious D. I did go and see some folk music recently, Welsh folk music, which was nice. And I am actually going to see Fluke this time next week. So let's get into some technical advice. Would you recommend to buy a pricey whistle as a beginner? Generally, no. I would say you're better off starting with a Generation whistle, a Clark whistle, something cheap if you're first starting out, because you don't know whether you're going to enjoy playing the instrument. There's no point in spending a lot of money on a good whistle, because a lot of the time you don't have the breath control and the stability and the experience to play a good whistle well anyway. So you'll still sound squeaky, you'll still sound like a beginner, even on a more expensive whistle. When you've been playing for 6 months, yes, definitely. Try and get yourself a new whistle and improve a little bit. If you've stuck with it over that time period, it's a good time to then improve your instrument and encourage you to improve your playing. But use it as a milestone or a marker of your progress, that when you feel you've outgrown one whistle, you can move on to the next. I've been following on a D whistle, but what key would you recommend my next whistle to be? Well, generally most people get a C whistle as their second whistle, but you may as well opt for something like a B flat. It's a little bit larger in size, as you can see by this whistle here. It gives you a wider finger spacing, but you can still generally use the finger pads. So you don't have to switch to a piper's grip for a lower whistle, but you still do get that feeling of a lower and larger whistle, which might help you move on to bigger whistles in future if that's the way you're interested to go. Can you recommend an Irish tin whistle book for beginners? Well, I've never really used any books myself other than the Clark tin whistle book, but I do have a list on my Amazon store, which I'll link in the description down below. I've gone through these, and these are highly rated books, and they should be pretty good for tin whistle. Should I start with scales or just dive in to try and figure out songs? I'd 100% just dive straight in. Who wants to be sitting there learning scales? It's so boring. Why would you want to do that to yourself when you could just try and play some music? I know it seems sensible to go via, learn to walk before you can run, but what is the point? Running is so much more fun. So yeah, dive straight in, learn some tunes that you enjoy, and get a feel for the fun elements of playing the instrument, and then go back to the sensible stuff after that. I want to learn to play a drone flute. Can you please give me tips or some advice on how to learn faster? The best advice to learning more quickly is to put in the time and practice, actively listen to other people that are playing the instrument and see what you can take from their playing and work out how to make those sounds and go through drills and scales and stuff that I just said was really boring. But if you want to learn quicker, that stuff can help you develop your skills a little bit more consistently, which can help you feel like you're at a more advanced level. Any additional amount of practice and focused practice that you can do will help you learn a lot quicker. How not to squeak on the high notes. I love tin whistle, but I don't want my partner to listen to a dying squirrel. Very good question. I do have a short video on how to play nice smooth high notes. I won't go over it now, but I will link it up here on the little eye. Basically, just concentrate on focusing your air quite directly and forcefully, and think of a narrow stream of air, fast air through the whistle. Kind of like you're blowing through a little drink straw, but those little tiny ones that go in a juice box. Think about blowing through one of those, and that will help you hit cleaner high notes. How do you go from learning ornamentation to incorporating it into a tune? Well, I do have a video on how to add ornamentation to any tune. Again, I'll link that on screen and in the description down below. It gives you some pointers on where to best place the ornamentation that you've learned. So the best thing to do is learn the basic notes of a tune and then take a look at those notes and see which places the ornamentation that you know might slip into that tune. And there are some, not rules as such, but guidelines that you can follow in that video I just mentioned, so please do go check it out. How do I record what I'm playing so I can use it in a composition? Well, there are lots of ways to record yourself. You can do it on a phone, you can get a microphone and an audio interface, and you can set that up with your computer and record into some free software like Audacity. In general, what you want to get is a little microphone and some free software to start you off, and then you can just plug everything in and hit record. It's that simple. Why isn't there a whistle that can be lengthened to make each of the keys? Well, I'm not a whistle maker, but when you lengthen the whistle, you also need to change the space of the holes and the width of the holes as well. So as you can see on a high F whistle, for example, the holes are very small and very close together. So even if you were to lengthen this whistle, and it was in parts, and you could take some of these parts away, the whistle would need to be in individual hole parts. And even if you lengthened it, then the holes wouldn't be the right width to get the right pitch. So although it's a nice idea, I don't think it's very practical. Do you think tin whistle is a good instrument for busking? 100% yes. You can get plenty of whistles that are loud enough to use without any additional volume, so you don't need an amp or anything like that. You can play them quite sweetly on little streets. They tend to work well in places with good acoustics, so if you're in a city or you're in a square or you're under a tunnel or some sort of bridge, they can sound really nice. If you're out and about somewhere where you can find some good acoustics, tin whistle is a really great instrument. Also, they're very portable, they're very affordable, and it's kind of difficult to get them to sound bad if you're playing a repertoire of tunes that you have. So they're definitely a great instrument for busking. Why do you think Feadog is closing down? Well, I'm sure like many other businesses, it's either because somebody is retiring or they're not actually making the profits they need to be able to sustain their business. I don't have any contact with Feadog, so I don't know any inside information, but I would suggest it's one of those two things. I'm trying to find a tune that's jaunty with sections that are haunting. A jack-of-all-trades type song. Any ideas? Well, I would probably suggest the Lonesome Boatman, and although that sounds like an odd choice, there are sections of it that you can play a little bit more upbeat, and there are some sections in it that are really haunting. It's kind of one of those classic ones that is considered a haunting tin whistle tune. But yeah, there are various elements to it as well. If you guys have suggestions for tunes with jaunty sections and haunting sections, please do leave them in the comments. So this person gets a whole selection of incredible tunes that they can learn to play. Now we have 5 questions left. If you are still here, please do let me know in the comments down below. It's incredible that you've managed to hang on this far. These are the questions that I considered had a little bit more depth and might need a little bit extra explanation. So let's get into them. If you could take all the time and have spent it on a different instrument, piano, guitar, maybe even recorder, or literally any instrument, would you? Now, when I first read this question, I kind of felt insulted, as if tin whistle wasn't a worthy instrument to have spent 10 years learning, and my life's work was pointless. But then I thought about the question, and if I could have spent those 10 years playing a different instrument, would I? Yes and no. In a way, I would like to be able to play piano incredibly well. I'd love to be able to play fiddle, violin, whichever you want to call it. I'd love to be able to play the theremin, the harp, guitar. I love guitar. So yes, I'd love to be able to play all those instruments really well, but I know full well that I wouldn't have stuck with any of those instruments. So it's kind of hypothetical. Yes, I'd like to be able to play a different instrument really well, but if I had attempted to put the last 10 years into one of those instruments, I wouldn't be playing anything. So yes and no. It would be great to play a different instrument, but at the same time, I'm really pleased that I actually found tin whistle and I actually stuck with an instrument, and I can play the tunes that I love to a standard that I feel sometimes impressed with. And yeah, I wouldn't trade that for anything. I'd love to know your thoughts on people who claim that the tin whistle is not a proper instrument. Well, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but a lot of people have heard tin whistle in the hands of children, which isn't always the best experience. Let's face it, it's not always the best experience in the hands of adults, and competent ones at that. But if you think an instrument is a toy and it's not a real instrument, and it's tin whistle is a gateway to better instruments, then it's a kind of narrow-minded approach. It can be a fantastic instrument, and actually it's incredibly versatile. You can play all sorts of music with it, but it also is a very simple instrument. It's a tube with 6 holes. And if you can make incredible music from a metal, plastic, wooden tube with 6 holes, well, that's pretty impressive in my books. So if you think this isn't a real instrument, then unfortunately, you are mistaken. If you had to start all over again now, but with all the knowledge that you now know, what exercise would you practice first? I mean, I think if I had to start all over again, knowing what I know now, I'd probably do things exactly the same way. I would probably dive in at the deep end and start making tutorials when I didn't know what I was doing and start working on tunes that were way too difficult for me because I enjoyed them. You've got to do whatever works for you. The one thing I would say is that if you are interested to improve more quickly, getting a teacher, a one-to-one tutor, is actually going to help you improve a lot quicker than if you just do it yourself. But if you're like me and something like that would put you off playing, then you'll have to just do it yourself. You'll have to put the time in yourself and the effort in yourself. So I don't think there's anything in particular exercise-wise I'd practice. I just have fun with it, and I would doubt myself less. I think one of the things that stands in everybody's way is self-doubt. Doubting that you're able to do something, doubting that you're good enough to play with other people, doubting that you'll be successful, doubting that you sound any good. All these negative thoughts and emotions are going to hold you back from actually finding the success with the instrument that you want. So start talking positively to yourself, be kind to yourself, do things you enjoy with your instrument, challenge yourself, and have fun playing it, because what is the point if you're not enjoying it? After playing for some time, simply because I like the sound, I started to feel there might be something deeper to playing tin whistle. So what I wanted to ask is there anything philosophical about playing tin whistle? What do you think? Well, I think this is a very personal experience. For some people, having a connection to music and having a connection to the outdoors and feeling a spiritual connection with music and sound frequencies and the things that you can do that you didn't know you could do is quite a freeing and comforting experience. It's quite exhilarating and exciting. There's definitely an appeal to it. And I think when you get to a certain stage that you feel you can play with more competence, it's quite rewarding to know that you've stuck with something. It's quite an interesting feeling to get in the zone and actually be able to play something without really needing to think about it. And yeah, in a way, I guess there's another level to it other than just playing a little instrument at home. But it's a personal thing. Some people will feel that way. Others will take it very matter of fact. But how fantastic if you feel that way and you're playing something that gives you another dimension or a level of feeling that is absolutely beautiful. And finally, we're at our last question. And the question is, you're a master of motivating me and others to play the tin whistle. But what can we do to motivate you to keep on doing what you do? Probably like the most flattering question of all of them. Thank you for everybody who's asked all these questions. It is so nice to hear from you all. I mean, the best thing you guys can do for me is to watch my videos, to comment on my videos, to help build this community by liking, subscribing, sharing, all those things that I ask you to do. But I mean, a lot of people don't realize how important that is. To have your work that you've spent so much time and effort on well received by your audience is what you do it for. Like, if I put out a video and nobody watches it, it's the worst feeling in the world. But I mean, I try and put out another one in the hope that people will watch it. And views have been so down for so long now because of all sorts of competition and things like AI music, which is taking over. And, you know, I had a boom in COVID where a lot of people were at home and learning tin whistle. And a lot of people who started tin whistle have moved on and they don't come back to my more difficult tutorials. So I need to try and keep everything mixed up. So in all honesty, the best thing you can do to motivate me to keep doing this is to just watch my stuff. And if you can find it in your heart to, do those things, liking, subscribing, leaving comments, sharing with friends, your engagement, your interaction with me and my channel is what enables me to keep going. There are people that support me on a monthly basis on Ko-fi and Patreon, which I find incredible. Like, thank you to everybody who's ever done that and who's still doing that. And some people have done it for years. And it is the most incredible thing. Because at the end of the day, this is my job now. It is, I am a musician. I am a tin whistle teacher. I am a tin whistle player. So, just keep coming back. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching. If you've been with me for a while, you're incredible. And I hope that everything I've done here has been in some way helpful to you. If you've got any further questions, please do leave them in the comments. Of course, don't forget to do all those things that I mentioned if you haven't already. It's been a really incredible 10 years, and I didn't know it would go this way, and I am so pleased that it has. So thank you to everybody who has made this possible and continues to support me in the channel in order to keep this incredible community going. Thanks for watching, guys. Happy whistling. I'll be back again very soon with some more tunes, some more tips, some more reviews. It keeps going. Happy whistling, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.